I never believed those stories about people getting lost in laundromats, urban legends about people vanishing between the rumbling dryers at 3 a.m., until the night I closed up at the Wash and Spin on Holloway Road. It's just a squat, fluorescent-lit building, wedged between an empty lot and a boarded-up bakery, but it always felt safe enough. I've worked the overnight shift for 6 years, watching drunks nod off on plastic chairs and kids play tag between the machines. That night, though, everything felt slightly off from the moment I slid my key into the lock. The key stuck, which it never does. I had to wiggle it, feeling the cold bite of worn metal, before the door finally gave and swung open with a squeal too loud for the quiet street. Inside, the lights flickered once, twice, then steadied, humming like they always do. But the air was wrong. Warmer, with a faint, sour smell clinging to the corners. I set my thermos on the counter and told myself the cleaning crew probably forgot to run the fans. I did my usual rounds, checking the coin slots and emptying the lint traps. On the far wall, one washing machine, number 17, was mid-cycle, sloshing with someone's forgotten load. I peered inside, expecting the sour reek of damp clothes, but only got a whiff of bleach. The drum spun slower than it should, and for a second I thought I saw something pale flicker at the glass. Just a shirt sleeve, I told myself, and moved on. At 1:13 a.m., the door chimed. An old man shuffled in, stooped and bundled in a green parka, even though it was July. I greeted him, but he didn't answer, just glanced at me with eyes that seemed too dark, like the pupils had swallowed the color. He wandered to the row of dryers and stood there, staring at the empty tumblers turning. I busied myself behind the counter, but I kept glancing his way. He never loaded a machine, or even sat down, just watched as if waiting for something. After 15 minutes I looked up again, and he was gone. The front door hadn't chimed, and the only exit is past the counter. I stepped out, the scent of hot metal and fabric softener prickling my nose, and checked the restroom and alley door. Nothing. No. For a moment, the hum of the machines grew louder, like the whole building was listening. The hours dragged. I thumbed through a magazine and tried to ignore the sense that someone was watching from behind the rows of washers. Every now and then, I'd hear a soft shuffle or the faintest tap, but whenever I checked, there was never anyone there. At 2:40, the silence snapped. One dryer, number 8, banged hard, as if someone had kicked it from inside. I jerked upright, heart lurching, and went over, my footsteps echoing. The drum was empty, spinning lazily. I reached out, hesitated, then opened it. Heat rushed out, smelling thickly of dust, and something sharp, almost electric. No one inside. I closed it, hands trembling. By 3 a.m., the building felt smaller, airless, the humming louder than ever. I checked the clock again, then noticed something strange. Every machine's digital timer was stuck at 3:03. Even the wall clock second hand had stopped moving. I swore under my breath, trying to rationalize it. Maybe a power surge, maybe just a coincidence. But when I pressed the reset buttons, none of the displays changed. The humming deepened. Through the glass front doors, Holloway Road looked different. Street lamps flickering, shadows stretching where they shouldn't. The sense of being watched had shifted into something heavier, like the laundromat itself was pressing against my skin. I walked the aisles, the rubber soles of my shoes sticking to the cracked linoleum in a way they never did before. My breath fogged in the warm, stale air, which made no sense at all. I tried to laugh at myself, the sound small and brittle, but it faded fast. Every machine still glared 3:03, the digits almost pulsing with each hum. My phone was in my pocket. I pulled it out, desperate to check the time or distract myself, but the screen refused to unlock. Black, dead, though I'd charged it on the way in. I glanced at the payphone on the wall, but even from across the room I could see the cord dangling, sliced cleanly in two. I stood there, hand squeezing the useless phone, feeling sweat bead along my spine. Something shifted in the corner of my vision. I turned, expecting to see a customer sneaking in late, but there was no one. Only the reflection of myself in the row of washer doors, warped by the curved glass. For a moment, I thought I saw two reflections standing side by side. One slightly behind the other, features blurred and wavering like heat off asphalt. I blinked hard. When I looked again, it was just me, looking pale and stretched thin in the harsh lights. That's when I noticed the old man's parka draped over a chair by the dryers. It hadn't been there before. I walked over, half hoping he'd emerge from the bathroom and scold me for touching his things. But the fabric was cold, damp as if it had just come in from the rain, though the night outside had been bone dry. A sickly, sweet odor clung to it, like rotting leaves or something left too long in standing water. When I reached out to move it, my fingers brushed something in the pocket, a small black notebook, its edges swollen and curled. I hesitated, then pulled it free. There was no name inside, just page after page filled with tight, trembling handwriting. Words overlapped, ran off the paper, sentences repeating. The clock stopped at 3:03. Don't trust the mirrors. The doors aren't real. I snapped the notebook shut, skin crawling. My hands left damp prints on the cover. A sharp, metallic crash rang from the back hallway, the supply closet. I flinched, notebook clattering to the floor, pulse thudding so loud I thought I might faint. It wasn't a small sound, not a broom falling. It was as if something heavy had slammed into the metal shelves. Forcing myself to move, I grabbed the nearest object, a broken folding chair, and crept toward the hallway, holding my breath. I reached the closet and placed my palm against the chipped paint of the door. The metal was icy cold. The knob resisted when I tried to turn it, sticking halfway, and for a moment I heard a low, scraping sound from inside, like something dragging itself along the floor. My mind supplied dozens of explanations. An animal? A raccoon? Maybe even a prank. I tried to believe any of them. I counted to 3 and yanked the door open. The closet was empty, except for the usual cleaning supplies. But every bottle and box had been pulled to the center of the floor, arranged in a perfect circle. My mop bucket, the broom, the detergent, everything sat just touching at the edges, forming a dark ring around nothing at all. I stared, breath catching. I knew I hadn't left it like that. No one had been in here but me. The moment I stepped back from the door, the lights overhead buzzed, brighter, harsher, casting warped shadows that jittered and crawled along the walls. I stumbled out of the hallway and back toward the main room, heart drumming in my ears, the notebook still white-knuckled in my grasp. The humming from the machines was a roar now, vibrating up through the soles of my feet, rattling my teeth. Every surface seemed to be vibrating, the whole laundromat breathing in time with my panic. I tried to steady myself, telling myself it was faulty wiring, old pipes, but the explanations felt thin, laughable, like a child insisting monsters weren't real while hiding under the blanket. I crossed to the front doors, intent on leaving, even if it meant setting off the alarm. My hand smacked the panic bar. Nothing happened. The doors didn't budge. I threw my weight against them, breath hitching, and felt only a slight give, like pressing into a wall of mud. I peered outside. The street was gone. Instead, a dim gray mist pressed up against the glass, so dense I couldn't see the curb or the bakery across the lot. My own reflection stared back at me, smudged and wavering, lips parted in a silent plea. A whimper clawed its way up my throat. I spun, meaning to run for the back exit, but the laundromat seemed longer than before. The rows of machines stretched on and on, their digital timers flickering erratically between 3-3 and symbols I couldn't read. I wiped my eyes. Sure, I was seeing things, but the numbers twisted and looped, forming shapes that made my stomach lurch. Movement snagged at the corner of my eye. Again, that sense of someone just behind me. I turned, but no one was there. Only the chairs and the abandoned parka, the notebook on the floor where I'd dropped it, pages fluttering as if stirred by a wind I couldn't feel. I bent down, and as I did, the buzzing stuttered into silence. For a heartbeat, the only sound was my own ragged breathing. Then, all the machines clicked open at once. Every washer and dryer door swung out in perfect unison, banging against their housings with the finality of a judge gavel. The echo rolled through the laundromat and died, leaving a thick, unnatural quiet. The air felt wrong, heavy with static, tasting faintly of ozone. From the supply closet, that scraping started again. Slow, methodical, like something pacing in a circle. I didn't want to look, but my body moved anyway, drawn like metal to a magnet. I forced myself to the edge of the hallway, peered around the corner. The closet door was ajar, light spilling through the gap, but instead of the supply room, I saw a narrow corridor, impossibly long, lined on either side with rusted washing machines. Each one had a glass door, and behind each pane, I glimpsed fleeting images. My own face, the old man's hollow eyes, pale hands pressed against the glass from inside. The corridor pulsed with that same sickly glow, and the walls seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting around me. I smelled that same rot, thick as syrup, clinging to my tongue. I tried to back away, but my feet wouldn't move. My hand trembled on the edge of the doorframe, knuckles aching. A voice whispered from somewhere too close, ragged, layered, almost familiar. It repeated the sentences from the notebook, words overlapping, sinking into my bones. Don't trust the mirrors. The doors aren't real. The clock stopped at 3:03. I squeezed my eyes shut, willing myself to wake up, to hear the real world, the street traffic, the hiss of the soda machine, anything normal. But the only sound was the soft click, click, click of unseen fingers tapping on glass. My eyes flew,